Welcome, Wanderer. Behind me, you can see a tier 16 map boss, and the damage is speaking for itself. Fissure Warrior is absolutely top tier. I improved the endgame version for you to not only have no mana problems, no, also increased survivability, and the damage is taken to the next level. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, what is Fissure Warrior? How does the gameplay loop work, and where does our damage come from? This build always engages with Totem. Then you throw your hammer in and explode it with a war cry, followed up by fissure, fissure, fissure. And what will happen is that your totems slam the ground to re-trigger your fissures, and you have 8 fissures on the ground, giving you massive damages, while they also trigger the fissure of the Forge Hammer. And if anything actually survives this onslaught, you still have the opportunity to put down 6 patches of jagged ground in a circle around the enemy or the boss, and then completely obliterate them into smithereens. Now this might sound like a slow gameplay loop, but since you're putting your totems always before you, and your totems are soaking up damage you would take, and if your totems take damage, you get healed by the totems, and the totems are providing more life regeneration for you. They're the perfect defense mechanism and offense mechanism at the same time, while you're riding forward on a wave of lava, never stopping. Because if anything survives behind you, the totems keep slamming, the fissures keep fissuring, and the enemies keep taking damage and dying. Let's count together the possible damage step by step with my 554 weapon. First, you get your volcanic fissures, and you can make 8 of them. They do 4,245 damage. That's without rage, and we can actually build up 50 points of rage, and the rage effect is increased by another 56%, which means another 70% more damage multiplicative on top of what we're actually going to be calculating here. Now these 8 fissures that you're making are getting slammed by your totems, and that's not 1 totem, that's 3 totems. So we already get like 4,500 damage times 3, and we get more branches, so it's actually not 4,500 damage, it's actually 8 fissures, even more. Then you're going to throw down your Forge Hammer on top, and it actually stays on the ground for 12 seconds. That also gets pulsed, and there's bonus branching fissures that get pulsed on top. That's another 7,000 damage times 3. Lastly, there's the damage of the shockwave totems themselves. Every pulse is 2,000 damage. And if they slam into jagged ground, it's 7,000 damage. And at this point, my earthquake can make 4 patches of jagged ground plus the quality option, another 2. In long, it looks like this: Forge Hammer, explosion, totem, 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 fissure, fissure that stay up for 12 plus seconds, and then you're just in a circle making patches of jagged ground around, and all that damage together leads to 100,000 plus of DPS. Fantastic. Now let's get into all the support gems, and I'll step by step also explain how to do the weapon swap points, because they're very important. Lastly, a little disclaimer if you're completely new to Warrior. We have a level 1 265 version. Here's the thumbnail of the video. This is the improved and enhanced endgame version with everything we have learned and the best support gems available. Talking about support gems, we found a few crazy ones. First, your damage is from shockwave totems slamming into everything, right? If they re-trigger the fissures and the fissure of the hammer and the earthquake jagged ground, that's immense. Therefore, we want rapid attacks 2. We don't want rapid attacks 3 because that would be 50% less damage on the totem. Sure, that wouldn't matter too much as we want to trigger the other stuff, but for 10% attack speed more, sacrificing any DPS the totems do, not worth it. The second support gem is Urgent Totems. Technically useless, because why do you want to have 100% totem placement speed? But in tier 3, they also get 20% attack speed on top. That's 45% attack speed just with these 2. Urgent Totems 1, useless. Urgent Totems 3, insane. And lastly, you get Fund of Blood. And Fund of Blood is stupid good. Totems created by the supported skill create a blood font, and that blood font leeches life for me if the totems do damage. And that's also why you don't want to reduce their damage, because this is significant heal for you. And that heal is needed because while leveling, we're actually playing Prize of Freedom together with Blood Rush. These two soak your life dry as you're casting your spells. And now at the very moment, we're playing Blood Magic, foregoing any mana cost and substituting that for life cost, so we do need that leech. On our fissure, we managed to get a 4th gem, and we're currently playing the Rage because we want to have our 50 plus Rage with the bonus Rage points and the 57% increased Rage. Since rage is more damage, not increased damage, is a multiplier, right? The maximum is 30. We increased that to 50. It's such a huge thing. Like, you're going from the 4,000 DPS all the way up into the infinite and beyond. And that's why I'm saying 100,000 DPS and more. Then we get Elemental Armament 2 for 25% more damage. We're not going for Elemental Armament 3 because you want to ignite enemies with a fissure that you can actually trigger Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry needs you to ignite your enemies. Plus the branching fissures, which is going to have our fissure pretty much have the branches going out of it, and those branches can then be bonus ignited for more damage. And lastly, we get Exploit Weakness. Supported skills cannot break armor, but we can consume fully broken armor to deal 40% more damage. And that 40% more damage is a multiplier. So not only are we getting 60-70% damage multiplier from our rage, no, you get the Exploit Weakness on top. The Earthquake itself, we want it to be up as long as possible so that our totems can keep triggering the jagged ground. Sure, the Earthquake itself, if it explodes, does massive damage, but we're doing more damage by just slamming into it, especially if you have 6 patches of Earthquakes and 3 totems. That would be 6 times 7,000 damage, and that times 3. So we're sitting at 60,000 damage without anything boosted, without any bonus rage, with like, you get the drift. It's crazy. For this, we're going to put on Prolonged Duration, and we actually want Prolonged Duration 2 to have these up even longer. Then Encroaching Ground to increase their area. Because if you put an Earthquake down, and then I need to put an Earthquake next to it, and an Earthquake next to it, in order for them to overlap, the Encroaching Ground is subsequently making it bigger, bigger, and bigger, that then their actual jagged ground explosions are also hitting the boss in the middle. And lastly, we're playing Aftershock, that the skills have chance to create Aftershocks themselves, which would also trigger my stuff. Technically, I should put on Rapid Attacks here instead of Aftershocks, because then I can actually put down the Earthquakes faster. And that's the thing, I need to put out 6 Earthquakes. So at this point, Rapid Attacks would be better than Aftershocks. Then for the Forge Hammer, we're playing Elemental Armament for more damage as well. Prolonged Duration, that the actual fissure is up as long as possible, 10.8 seconds, where the Volcanic Fissures are up for 12 seconds, and the Earthquakes are up for 6 seconds, roughly. And we get Branching Fissures too. Now a warning here. Without Branching Fissures, the skill is this big. And with Branching Fissures, it's bigger, but it might cause graphical issues for you. I am already playing this build. With FSR quality, could actually go for balance to with more FPS. I lowered my global illumination down to shadows only, and I'm running the dynamic culling. Otherwise, PoE 2 would be breaking. For Infernal Cry, which triggers the Forge Hammer, we're playing Raging Cry for even more rage. Then we get the Herald of Ash together with Berserk, and also the Time of Need on the compressed duration. The Time of Need is healing us in between and removing curses and elemental ailments. It doesn't hurt to have. Now we're getting to the nitty and gritty, and that would be the passive tree. I explained first what we did with the weapon points, how to do the weapon points, and where to pass first. Right now we're using one weapon. If you go to your weapon and press right click up here where the 1 and 2 is, you can lock to all the weapon sets. This means that the weapon will be used with each skill I want to. So my Volcanic Fissure is using the weapon set 1. Marker here. My Shockwave Totem is using the weapon set points 2. Marker on the right. What happens right now is, if I put down a totem, these abilities will instantly get activated and snapshotted onto the totem. So I can make one more, my totems get more attack speed, my totems life regenerate me, my totems soak up damage I would be taking, everything ends up on the totem. And if I then press Volcanic Fissure, bop, we're swapping over to the red points, the weapon set 1 points. But while I'm on weapon set 1, the weapon set 2 points are still activated for the totems. And the weapon swapping itself that happens automatic is instantious, right? I'm going for totem and then boom, weapon swap, totem, weapon swap. There is no delay between that. And the main reason we're doing this is to get the most out of both skills. My Volcanic Fissures don't need more totem placement speed. My Volcanic Fissures don't need 20% to all elemental resistance on totems and physical damage reduction. That's not what my fissures profit. But my totems also don't need 40% more damage with a two-handed weapon. That does nothing for them. That does not even make my totem stronger, but it makes my fissure stronger. Weapon points are 24 points of your overall skill points that you can spend twice, and then you just swap between them. Now let's waltz through the skill tree together all the way to level 84. We begin with all the melee damage and the bonus stun buildup, together with bonus damage against heavy stunned enemies, as we always have them heavy stunned. Then, for the beginning, you'll have to take some dexterity and some intelligence points to actually get your rapid attacks rolling, and you want to have the blood rush here for converting mana cost to life cost to a degree. And then your most important thing is rushing down this aisle here in the middle, so you can get yourself really quick to the totem points. And this is where weapon points come in already. If you have them from your playthrough already, we're going to go for weapon set 2, and now we're going to spend the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on this. But that means we'll also have 5 points to spend in weapon set 1. And these weapon set 1 points can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a huge increase of damage for the fissure, while it's also a good increase for our totems. And we can use this with the same weapon from the beginning on. Then we're going to go for 6 and 7 for the totem life. And for weapon set 1, you're going to do increased damage against burning enemies and increased damage against burning enemies. Then with our main points, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, because you need the price of freedom in the beginning. And then we're actually going further up here for our next totem points. But at the same time, we want to spend fissure points. So you're going to go for another 2 on the side here. Then we're going to be picking up weapon set 2 for the totem. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then for weapon set 1, we're at 1, 2, 3. Boom. Take the burn away. And then also the 4 with the burning strikes. Now we get 3 more weapon set 2 spent than weapon set 1. No worries, we're going to spend them later because we're going to go all the way up here now. And that's what we're going to do because we want the watchtower node. Big disclaimer, if you don't have the weapon set points yet because you're not at the campaign progress, don't worry. First the totem points, then the fire points. The totem points are more important in the beginning because they make the totems go out faster, they increase your attack speed, so they trigger the jagged ground, they trigger the fissure more. The fire points are pretty much optimization points. As we then move down to the bottom left and over to the tippity top, we're going to be spending weapon set 2 points, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the totem damage. And I now recoup life that my totems are taken. Hehe, very good. And with weapon set 1, we're going to make our mace skills that we use, our fissure, our hammer, not our totems, have a chance to create aftershocks. This is useless for the totem, but it's great for everything else we're doing. And with 1 more point to the side, you can still spend more weapon set 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on physical damage as fire damage against heavy stunned enemies. We always have them heavy stun. And in bonus damage against ignited enemies. And we always have them ignited. As you now have the Ancestral Mending and also the Watchtower Recoup, plus you're going to have Ascended 2 times and gotten yourself your Answered Call for the bonus totem. And yes, the Ancestral Spirits are not working, but they will work in the future, making them even stronger. Plus then the Totem Life and the Wooden Wall, your totems soak up damage you would take. And if my totems take damage, I get recouped. We can actually go so far to say, hey, we don't need these points anymore here. So we can save ourselves 6 points in total. We can put on the Dexterity and Strength. Remove these 2. And now with our main points, we're going over the tippity-toppity with Strength nodes into Blood Magic. For Blood Magic, to substitute your mana for life, you really want to have that regeneration. You really want to have the recoup. You really want to have the damage being soaked up. And what you also would like to have is this node here. Physical damage prevented, recouped as life. And that works good with life regeneration. And then with a recoup bonus on top of the Watchtower recoup, on top of the damage prevention, on top of the life regeneration. It all nicely adds together. You're then going to travel from the beginning with your main points over to the side and take the bonus area damage because it works for both. This works for fissure and this works also for your towers. And the last weapon set 2 points are being spent here for the bonus totem damage and attack and cast speed to myself if I used a totem recently, plus make them a bit more tanky. We have another 4 weapon set 1 points now left. And they're being used here on the side. First, we take Sturdy Metal Normal. Then I take Weapon Set 1 points to get a little bit more life regeneration as I then spam out my fissures, because that's the spam part. That's where I want the life regeneration. And then we're going with our main points over to the side here for area damage, and another chance to make more aftershocks plus maximum life. But this one we want to be always on. Then with Weapon Set 1, I can get more stun threshold and a little bit more strength. The last 4 weapons at 1 points can most likely be used for something different juicy, but I haven't 100% decided on that yet, as, well, I'm already blasting like crazy anyways. Now with our last remaining points, we're going to be moving to the side, strength, all the way here to strength, because we want to have the bonus attack speed and bonus attack speed if I have been hit recently. That's 15, 18, 21% bonus attack speed. We want to, after we ascend it a 3rd time, get the Molten One's gift that our fire damage applies to armor break effects. So we do more damage as we then take Anvil's Weight, because now all our damage is breaking armor, and that also works with the exploited weakness from the fissure. And lastly, we're going to activate Rage, 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 and Rage when hit by an enemy, plus Rage gives stun threshold. That's crazy. Don't forget to take this little jewel socket here, and now with further points, this is pretty much where I am. You want to still take on the top left side the node Battle Fever. That's more skill speed and more physical damage. Pretty nifty. And we can also weasel out the attack damage, and another 50% attack damage plus stun build up. Slightly reduced attack speed, but it's worth it. And it works for both skills because they're attack damage. And now lastly, I am looking to get this cluster. Mainly, you would want to have the 40% presence area of effect, and allies in your presence deal more damage, and I deal more damage if I have allies in my presence. But you can also get rage you gain granted to allies in your presence. Which means if I now have the 50 rage, the 70% more damage, that should apply to my totems, and they should erupt the jagged ground even harder. Sounds like a fancy-pantsy idea. I did play it before. I actually put it away again because I wanted to go for a bit more survivability. And that's also something to consider here right now. You don't see many survivability nodes, and yet we're super survival. That being said, you can definitely go for more life regeneration nodes as there's tons around. We can still consider taking our brute strength here for more damage per strength. We can take this cluster here for another more life. Because right now on tier 16 maps, I'm only sitting at 1,923 life. Then again, my helmet does only have 75 max life. My chest doesn't have max life. My belts does not have max life. My boots do not have max life. My ring does not have max life. My amulet has 41. My one ring has 54. There's so much more maximum life I could be getting. And as we're talking about the equipment, obviously get your resistances up, which is always somewhat tricky. And now with level 84 at tier 16 maps, we're sitting at 67% armor with a big chest. I was really lucky finding this one. And we're not even playing the bonus armor multiplier here, so I could get even more out of this. I could be around 70% armor. What you really need is this. So 37% of armor also applies to elemental damage. Then here 35 applies to elemental damage. And down here is another 31 applies to elemental damage. So 100% of my armor applies to elemental damage. On top of the armor works fire. Your rings could be getting bonus fire damage to attacks and bonus fire damage as well, as they have here fire damage to attacks, because that works really well for what we're actually doing. The gloves are only taken because they have 1-2 melee skills and they have 0 resistances, which is super weak because I had to fiddle and to barely get my resistances done. I can't actually exchange a single piece at this point. Weapon, you want to have maximum physical damage because that's being turned into fire damage. If you would get yourself something like plus 100 fire damage, that wouldn't hurt as well. But you really, really, really want to get that physical damage. And I can actually still desecrate this weapon. Is this the end now of my warrior's journey? No, this was my first character this season and has been blasting through. I still have to destroy the mansion in the mist and others to get myself lineage support gems. So we haven't even looked at lineage support gem, which means the warrior will be played further. The warrior has to kill the arbiter. The warrior has to ascend a 4th time. I just simply haven't gotten to do that all yet. I mean, it's only 20 hours into the new season. Therefore, this is pretty much minimal hours invested, but still at absolute insane levels of power. There's definitely weapons that have 600, 700, 800 damage possible. I've seen it. There's way more damage we can weasel out with the weapon. And hell, we're not even using Giant's Blood. Yeah, the ripped Giant's Blood, you don't actually even need it to get to tier 16 maps, to kill tier 16 bosses, to get to the hard parts of the content. What do you say, ladies and gentlemen? Do I have your fully reeled in hook, line, and sinker? Tell me in the comments below, and if you need more tips for Path of Exile, here's a video for you. Plus, here's the Warrior beginner video for your friends who are still not convinced if they should actually go for this, but they should. Enjoy. Take care.